I've got the cam sensor and the cam synchronizer out of my I've got the cam synchronizer and the cam sensor out of my 2002 Ford Ranger with the 3-liter V6 engine in it. And what I found out was after I had purchased the two and replaced both of them, that I did not need the sensor itself. What we've got is your synchronizer acts a lot like the distributor did in your own older vehicles. It's driven off of the cam with this gear. It actually drives the oil pump through a shaft. It goes in the bottom of this bottom down here, and it feeds information to the computer or your ECM, and it gives location of the cam by way of a AC sine wave. And what it does is, this is the synchronizer right here, or excuse me, this is the sensor right here. And if you look inside, you'll notice that there's no moving parts. All it has is, you've got the magnet. You'll see my screwdriver sticking to it. And there's a coil of wire around it. And it just comes out with these two pins here on the end. And what happens is, this tab right here passes by that magnet, and it makes a AC voltage. So it generates a little AC sine wave every time it goes by that magnet. And the reason that I replaced the both of them was it started making the chirping noise that these do. And what's happened is inside the synchronizer itself, there's some bushings, and the bushings go bad because the shaft starts to wobble inside the case. And I temporarily did away with that with this one. I dumped me a load of oil in this hole right here. And this was so bad that you couldn't turn the shaft hardly. It was very hard to turn. And it actually made like a scraping or chirping noise every time it came to a certain position inside. And usually what'll happen is these things will run like this for a long time, making this chirping noise before they actually damage the sensor itself. And what you'll notice, if you go ahead and you get one of them, it's making the chirping noise. And I've seen it make this noise for as much as a month before it'll actually start doing any damage to the sensor itself. And what you'd look for inside here would be like cracks inside this area here, cracks in the side, or you'll look for damage along your magnet right here. Usually what you'll see on your magnet, if it's been hit or damaged, is there'll be a shiny spot on it. If I don't see any of that damage like that, I don't see any real reason to replace the sensor itself. Especially if you had the same condition that I did when I replaced mine. I only had the chirping noise. I did not have a check engine light. I did not have any drivability problems as far as bad fuel mileage or no power or any issues with drivability. The only condition that I had was the chirping noise. And I did know that the synchronizer had never been out of the vehicle because I purchased the vehicle brand new, and the synchronizer was in the same location as when the vehicle was manufactured. So when I got ready to do the replacement on it, what I did was I located the case, the outside, to a fixed point in the engine. And basically what I did was I took there's a bolt head, and I took one of these tools like this. It's just I bought this at the hardware store. And let me see if we'll get this set up here. For instance, if my bolt head was right here on a flat, all I did was set it up against the side of that flat bolt head and laid it down here on top of my cam sensor, and I made me a mark on, or my cam synchronizer, and I made a mark on it. That's that mark right there. And at the time, my pin or my tab was in that location. And you'll see this black mark right here. There's one edge of the tab right there. There's a mark for the other edge of the tab, and I filled it in with a magic marker. So basically, I've located the location of the synchronizer, and then I've located the location of the tab in relation to the cam, because remember now, the tab is like telling you that I am meshed into the camshaft with this gear at this location. So basically what you're doing is you're using the tab to find a location for your cam. Do this before you even start moving anything around at all. You can take your sensor off, because if you think about it, your sensor will only go on one way. Okay? And the other location for your sensor is going to be your wiring harness. If your wiring harness is setting right here, it's been there all along. When you put everything back together, you want it back in the same location. You can't set it in there like this, because your harness is not going to reach where it belongs. So you mark everything before you take it apart. She was setting like here, like so. The bolt is the fixed point for the engine. So naturally what you do is you use that to mark your old synchronizer. And the key is just set your old synchronizer and your new synchronizer side by side, and you can find points on them, like this has got the 2 notches, it's got the one large hump here, or even to set them up like this. You see your large window right there. That's where your mark is for this. You take that off out of the way. You know where that is, and then you go ahead and you locate your flat mark on your bolt. You line it up with this. You locate your housing. Then you locate your pin. And when you get ready to take this housing out, after you've taken your little your bolt off down here on the side, you'll notice that when you start taking it out, your tab is going to slide to one side. And what it's doing is it's disengaging from this gear down here. So when you get ready to take this out, you make a mental note, or even if you want to, break out your magic marker again. You put a mark right there and say, okay, that little tiny point is where that tab stopped moving when I was pulling it out. So when you get ready to put it back in, you put it right back in the same location. And all you're doing is you transfer this information onto your new synchronizer. You set it down. You put your tab in the same location. When you start moving it down in there to locate it, it's going to rotate itself back in there, and it'll be right in the same exact place. If you drop it down in there and it's over here, you're off one tooth. No big deal. Back it up out a little bit, and then reach over and slide your tab over some. Drop it back down in again. It'll locate there. If you get ready to locate it and it's off to this side a little bit, no big deal. You've done the same thing. You just got to bring it up out of there and move it over one tooth, so it'll drop back down in the same place. Once you get your tab centered on this position and you get your case centered on this position, mark using your little homemade tool again. Just set it down there. There's my mark. There's my bolt head. You can tighten your bolt down to lock your case in place. You can put your synchronizer back, put your sensor back on top of the synchronizer. Bolt your wiring harness back up. Fire it off. 9 times out of 10, it'll end up like mine did. I did not have The vehicle fired up immediately. There were no noises. The chirping sound was gone. I got no check engine light, no drivability problems. The only other thing that I know of that I could do to maybe tweak this a little bit would be to check the cam sensor against a crank sensor. There is a procedure for doing this with a lab scope. But as of this point in time, and this has been in my truck now for 3 or 4 months, the truck's driving fine, knock on wood. I have no drivability problems. I have no check engine light. Um, and everything seems to be working fine. And basically, I did this with just some hand tools and, you know, stuff like that. See if this helps out. If it does, I'm glad. And thanks for watching.